Hi there, Taurus Sun and Rising. Welcome to your February 2024 Astral Update. It's Raina here, and wow, oh wow. I have Taurus Rising, and I can tell you that February is going to be quite an amazing month. First of all the planets are direct, and when that happens, it means that there's nothing kind of standing in the way of forward movement. We had retrogrades throughout the end of 2023, and whether you knew that or not, you may have experienced it in the form of delays, kind of losing your mojo and stuff like that. And now all systems are go. We're going to also have this in March. And then there's going to be a lot of, they're like little pockets where there might be some ability when somebody wants to launch something, or maybe outer planets are retrograding. It kind of also depends on inner and outer planets sometimes, but it's just not every day that you see this where all the planets are direct. So there just seems to be this cosmic green light for us. And for Taurus, the other big story is that there's so much going on in the sign of Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is the sun sign as we begin the month of February, but and an inner planet like Venus, for instance, or Mars, it's not that unusual for it to be close to the sun. But for instance, with Mars, at this time last year, Mars was still stuck in Gemini. So it didn't even go through Aquarius during Aquarius season, or even, soon afterwards. So this means that Mars it hasn't been in your 10th house for quite a while. And that means that it's going to be that much more special when it, makes its appearance again. And but the other reason is because Pluto will be there. Now, I just told you that I have Taurus rising. I have it in a late degree of Taurus, and I'm not going to have Pluto in my 10th house for probably another year or two, because my I can't remember what my midheaven is. It's probably like 3 degrees of Aquarius or 4 degrees. I can't remember which one. So it's going to be like in a couple of years, probably. So it just gives you an example that it's not always how the the astrologers say when it's a general reading. However, it will happen eventually for most people. So even if it's not happening this year, it might happen next year or the year afterwards. And some of you, it'll be happening. So it's worth talking about. And so anyway, let's talk about these things. So one of the things that I want to mention before I talk about February is that I'm recording this the second week of January, and so a lot of you are going to hear this in January because I'm posting it tonight. And on January 20th, when the sun goes into Aquarius, guess what planet is also going into Aquarius? Pluto. Now, Pluto did go into Aquarius back in March of last year, but it was only there for a brief period. It only got to 0 degrees in some minutes of Aquarius, and then it went back into Capricorn. And it stayed in Capricorn. As I record this, it's still in Capricorn. And so it will have one more stint in a late degree of Capricorn, I believe starting in September of this year until November, which is interesting because in the United States, this coincides with the final push for the presidential election and the immediate aftermath, because the election is on November 5th, and then a couple of weeks after that, Pluto goes into Aquarius. So that is a very interesting thing. I haven't heard any astrologers talking about that, but I'm assuming that, I mean, they alluded to that perhaps, but not speak in depth, because it is, quite a bit in the future. But I look forward to hearing what they have to say, some of the people that I follow. But anyway, so that's for the collective. We have that idea, the difference between Capricorn and Aquarius, the authority figure versus the populism, the people coming together. And that is quite a shift. So if we want to talk about the Aquarian age, we can talk about 5D. We can talk about those things being kind of one and the same, where people are coming together. They don't feel the need to be ruled by anyone. It's all about personal freedom, but also about the collective versus the individual doing their own thing and not thinking about other people. So it's like, the ultimate freedom isn't from, having connection with others. The ultimate freedom is not being dictated to from somebody who's appointing themselves your leader. So anyway, at least that's my take on it. So let's just go into this. I know I just kind of yacked on and on. Please don't go, okay, the reading starts at 7 minutes into it, because I did mention the Sun and Pluto in this 10th house. And on the 5th, Mercury joins them. So Mercury can mean that you're talking to authority figures. The 10th house are authority figures. You might be speaking in front of the public for some reason. You might be making a name for yourself somehow. I don't know how, but Mercury we know, is a planet of communication. The 10th house is your place in the world, your status, your position, and its authorities. It's also your father. You could be talking to your father. On the 9th, the new moon is at 20 degrees of Aquarius. So there's some kind of a new development in your career matters. If you wanted to time something, maybe the day after this just would be a wonderful time to launch something connected to your career, because again, the universe is cooperating, the planets are cooperating. Nothing is pushing back on you. On the 13th, Mars goes into Aquarius. And like I said, Mars has not seen the 10th house in quite a while. I can't tell you exactly when. I would assume it's 2 years. But I don't have that in front of me. So think about that. Think about two years ago. Maybe you have felt a little bit, 2 years ago would be 2022, but you could even, well, yeah, I'd say 2022. Maybe you've kind of felt a little bit less motivated, because that could be Mars, or less ambitious. This might be a time when, there's fire in your belly for success. But you have to take I was going to say you have to take the good with the bad, but I'm not saying it's really bad. But on the flip side, watch out for clashes with authority figures, including your father or stepfather. Watch out for that, because Mars can indicate conflict, and you may be with all the, you have Pluto there. Mars and Pluto are the rulers of the sign of Scorpio. And that issue of power struggles with Pluto can be a theme with you having Pluto in the 10th. Again, some of you will have it in the ninth and not the 10th, but for those who have it in the 10th, watch out so that you're not unconscious about your behavior, because sometimes people, when people have Pluto in the 10th house, they can be obsessed with success. And by the way, Pluto can also confer wealth. So that could be how it manifests. And it could be like you really want, um, money more than anything. And the problem is, but connected to your career. So with Mars, there could be a pushy quality where you're overly aggressive about getting your desires met, and you're not handling things with the best sort of method. And Taurus, you rule the house of earned income. So if any sign, is like specializes in money, it might be you, and it might be something that's a real driving force for you. So, and some of you sun in Taurus people have Mars, natal Mars in Aries. So you're already a little bit pushy. Usually we say that Taurus people are kind of slow and they don't move fast enough and all of this, but that's not true across the board. Not all Taurus people are created the same, and some Taurus people are quite feisty because they have inner planets in Mars. On the 16th, Venus goes into the 10th house. If there's anything that can smooth out ruffled feathers, it's Venus. In the 10th, this can be great for your interactions with people that are in positions of authority, because they may want to help you. They may want, Venus can give assistance because you're giving off vibes that make people want to help you. So even if you piss somebody off along the way, it might be water under the bridge. This can give you a raise. Maybe with Mars here, you've been kind of, and even Mercury in negotiation, you've been trying to make something happen. And who knows, maybe Mars coming into the 10th, you finally, grown a backbone and you're like, hey, I really do deserve a raise. It's been years. On the 18th, the sun goes into Pisces. This is a friendly angle to you called a sextile. It's coming from the 11th house. The 11th house is the house of hopes and wishes. This is the house of gains. So given that Venus is in your 10th, planets going into your 11th house, well, depending on what they are, but they can indicate increases in your salary, increases in your business's profits. This is also a social house. This is the house of your friendships and your groups. The sun here, and then 5 days later, Mercury, can be about maybe you are in a particularly social phase right now, Taurus. And you also have Neptune and Saturn transiting this house and hanging out there even longer. Neptune for years. You may have been very kind of hazy about some of your long-range goals, and that may have led you to flounder a little bit because you didn't know exactly how to make it happen. And now with Saturn here, it kind of crystallizes your visions, because Neptune can be visionary, but Saturn brings it down to earth where it is necessary for manifestation. You can have the most glorious visions, ideas on the planet, but unless you you follow it up by concrete action, steps, and having your facts together and being able to kind of implement, it's not going to happen. It's just going to stay in the mental realm. So that's great. And then on the 24th, the very next day, we have a full moon at 5 degrees of Virgo. Virgo is a fellow earth sign. This is your 5th house. A full moon here can bring you some kind of realization about somebody that maybe is in your world, in your circle, is around you, that you could be friends with or friendly with, and you realize that this person is actually your soulmate. And it would, I can understand if somebody would find that bizarre that I would say something like that, because I think a lot of people assume that their soulmate is going to be somebody where when they lay eyes on them, that they're going to just know this. And I'm sure that that happens a fair amount of times when it is your soulmate. But when I say soulmate, I meant like your life partner, okay? I don't like to necessarily use that term, soulmate, because people, they already, they attach so much certain things to it, and it can kind of get a little bit confusing and misleading. So anyway, you lay eyes on this person and it's like you feel that this is the one, but maybe you just saw them in a different light as a friend. Taurus people can be very attracted to somebody physically. There's a very, like a horn dog, lusty quality to Taurus that is actually very refreshing because it's very straightforward. It's not really, it's just like a natural thing. But because you're an earth sign, you may overemphasize that your physical attraction to somebody and not realize that there are so many things that make a relationship rich, and that physical attraction can be the easiest thing to tire of, especially as you get to a point where the relationship's supposed to progress and you're just kind of staring into space with that other person if you do not have an actual deep connection. The other thing that if there are some women who are trying to conceive children, the 5th house can be conceiving children, and full moons can be fertile. Although I would say that Virgo is not necessarily one of the most fertile signs from what I understand, but when it's in the full moon phase in that 5th house, that could be conceiving a child. I don't know how it relates to male Taurus people, if it's if your sperm is more potent at this time. I don't know. But anyway, another thing too is for artists, this can be a great transit for coming up with a great idea for a piece of art, or a song that you just wrote, or maybe you're finishing some kind of artistic project. That's always a possibility. All right, Taurus, that's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.